Good evening and welcome to McLean's Community Education Series. Tonight we are very honored to have two very esteemed guests, and Andy Shipp, who's been coordinating this program for the last couple of months, will be introducing our guests after I give a little bit of an introduction about the program. Community education series are very important to McLean to offer education to the parents, to the community, because we spend our days educating our children and the whole child, but we also educate and support the whole family. So this program tonight is about supporting families and individuals who work with children to help keep them healthy and thriving and safe. So thank you for coming tonight. We will have two additional programs. One will be February 18th, and then another one will be April 22nd. So you'll receive more information about those programs, and we hope you'll join us for those as well. Before we begin with our official program, I'd like to introduce the counselors that I work with each day that really help to make our children safe in the building, but also give them an opportunity to grow, to learn, to reach out, to experiment, to be in a community where they feel safe to make mistakes, and they feel honored to be part of a community that says, we're all trying together, we're all working together. And our counselors are exceptional at this, so I can't go any further without introducing them. Andy Shipp is our upper school counselor. Molly Love and Zach Gordon are our middle school counselors. And Sarah Havestein is our lower school counselor. And we all work together as a team to help support the students in our building. We will be moving forward with this program with our students, and both of our speakers have agreed to come back and work with our students on these topics of internet safety, alcohol and substance abuse, peer pressure, and the very important topics that you'll hear about tonight. So I am going to turn the program over to Andy and let him introduce our very esteemed guests. So thank you all for coming.
Thanks very much. I just want to say, I think Frankie and I came up with this idea way back like in last, I don't know, probably November or December, just because it was a hot topic and it was being floated out. So I really appreciate being able to work with her, and it's a lot of legwork, but it was a team effort. And through a lot of emails and phone calls, through contacts I have, we were able to get these two wonderful gentlemen. Two gentlemen sitting in front of you, Phil Andrews, who's the Director of Crime Prevention Initiatives for Montgomery County, the State's Attorney's Office. And we have Corporal John Olson, who's with the Traffic Division and Alcohol Initiatives for Montgomery County Police Department. Both are, I mean, you can go Google their presentations, very well represented, very well. When I told people that they were coming here, I mean, they were amazed that we could get them here, and very highly rated, and I'm thrilled that they're going to be here. A very, very timely topic because it's something that's ongoing, and I hope that you come away with some tools to use, lots of questions, and like I said, they both did offer to come back and talk to our population, which we will take them up on that offer. So I'm going to stop talking and turn the evening over to them. So, Bill,
thank you.
Pleasure.
I'm going to be up and down probably, standing and sitting, but and I'll do my best not to trip here. So thank you for inviting me on behalf of the State's Attorney's Office to come to the McLean School. I've heard wonderful things about the McLean School for a number of years, and I know McLean does an excellent job of educating the students here, and we've got a wide range of ages, of course, all the way from 1st through 12. So that's a lot of different conversations to have over, you know, a course of childhood that may cover a wide range of subjects with regard to the internet and how to use it appropriately. So I'm going to focus my remarks on internet safety and cyberbullying, and I think Corporal Arsenal is going to focus on substance abuse and identity theft or fraud, possibly, in the connection of the two, so that we divide it up that way. And I'm going to show a few videos that we show to students when we go talk to them, because we spend most of our time talking to students rather than to parents. But we always say yes when we're asked to speak to parents, and I want to say that the state's attorney of Montgomery County, John McCarthy, started this program because he wants to put as much emphasis on prevention as on prosecution. So especially with regard to young people, we want to help young people stay out of court and achieve their dreams rather than see them on a docket somewhere. So unless they're employed by the court, we don't want to see them there. We do a lot of work with middle school, especially. That age group, I think, is probably the area where we've concluded we can have the most impact, and where students become, you know, at significant risk if they make a mistake. So they're starting to get into potentially real trouble, and yet if we can affect their behavior, then we can influence them for years, and including in high school, so we can help them throughout the rest of their education through 12th grade at least, and hopefully for the rest of their life. So I'm going to show a few slides, but I'm going to show a few videos which I think drive home the points about why it's so important to have conversations with your children about how to use the internet appropriately. And I would say that based on what I hear, that although cyberbullying is a significant issue and it probably peaks in middle school, bullying peaks in middle school according to the studies, that most students are their own worst enemy when it comes to the internet, and that they tend to post things about themselves that get them in trouble. All right, so they're more likely to post something that will hurt them than they are to be cyberbullied, although cyberbullying happens a fair amount and it's a significant problem too. But the part that deals with what you post yourself is completely controllable, right? That's completely preventable, theoretically, if you can convince young people how to use the internet safely. That part of it they can prevent if they act appropriately. So I'm going to show a video or two now that illustrates some of the hazards of unregulated use of the internet by young people and what kind of trouble they can get into. And I think that will illustrate why it's really important to have these conversations. And these things happen at all schools. I know there are issues at McLean. There are issues in every school in Montgomery County when it comes to inappropriate posting of information or misuse of the internet or social media. And so it is really important for parents to keep up with technology, even though it can be a pain to do so, given how fast it changes. And thank goodness there was no, in some ways, it's a blessing that our mistakes were not memorialized for all time when we were in middle school or high school, right? But technology is unforgiving. The internet's very unforgiving. It has a long memory, and it doesn't forget anything, unlike humans. We have terrible memories, which is why eyewitnesses are so bad to rely on by themselves in cases. So computers are very good at remembering things, and they don't forget anything that you post. And so one of the points we hammer home with everyone is that whatever you post is forever, and you also have to assume it will be public, because nothing can be completely secure online, as we see with hacked emails everywhere and hacked photographs and so on. So you have to always think twice before you post once. And if there's one thing I tell students to remember, it's that: think twice before you post once. Because once you hit that send button, it's gone, and you have now transferred whatever authority you had and control you had over that information to someone else who can do with it as they wish. So if you've given them something that makes you vulnerable, you're in trouble. So don't step into that morass. You've got to prevent that, because it's too hard to correct it. And you can try, but we usually remember, and you can't take back what you sent. You can delete it, but it doesn't mean it won't be out there forever. So even with Snapchat, when things supposedly disappear after 7 seconds, they can be screen saved before then, and that is not what we want to see either. So we don't want students, I hope you can see the headlines here. I'm going to go to the videos in just a minute, but these are headlines we don't want to see any young person to be part of. Arrested for cyberbullying or involved in a high school sexting scandal, sending nude photographs around. And a lot of young people, unfortunately, do send photographs of themselves, inappropriate photographs, semi-nude, nude photographs to their boyfriends and girlfriends, thinking that they will stay private, and often they don't. And one could never be sure that they will. So there's only one solution to that, and that's not to send them. So you may want to point out as a rule that you don't want your child to send any photographs online that they wouldn't want you to see. If they follow that rule, they're probably going to be fine. Following that rule, is what we want them to do, and that obviously is the hard part, getting them to act on something that can be simply said, but not necessarily easily followed, given the impulsivity that many young people have. So here is an example of what can happen when a young person And we show this would be something we would tend to show to a middle school student or group of students.
I used to have a best friend named Katie. We shared everything, even our passwords. One day I got online and noticed a bunch of emails from someone whose name I didn't recognize. The subject was, "You look hot." I opened one up and read what it said. It was from a guy at school who was 2 grades older than me. He said he wanted to do stuff that I'm embarrassed to even say. These girls at school, the beautiful people as I call them, they convinced Katie to give them my password. She thought that if she gave it to them, it would make them like her. I think she was scared too. These girls do mean things to everyone. Anyway, the girls got into my email and sent emails to all the senior guys that looked like they were from me. In the email was a picture of me with no clothes on. They got a picture of someone else from an adult website and photoshopped my class picture headshot on it, I guess. Then they wrote things like, "I will do anything to make your fantasies come true," and signed my name. Since it came from my account, everyone thought I really sent it. Now I can't go anywhere at school without guys looking at me funny and people whispering and pointing at me when they think I can't see. I don't have any friends, and I don't even talk to Katie anymore. I feel so alone. I wish I could move somewhere and start over. I thought it was safe to share my password with my best friend. Now I know you can't. I wish I could disappear.
Okay, so this is an example not just of cyberbullying, but also of identity theft, used to hack an email account and then to send out humiliating messages. And what we talk about with the students is, so how could this have been prevented? Who could have prevented this in the video? And the answer is everyone could have prevented this. All 3 parties that are in the video could have stopped it if they'd made a different decision. If the narrator had not made the mistake of giving her password to her friend, then it wouldn't have happened. If the friend, Katie, had not given up the password and betrayed her friend to getting good with a group of girls who ended up doing the bullying, that would not have happened either. And of course, the group of girls who did the bullying and identity theft could have stopped it as well. But everyone made a bad decision, and everyone got hurt or in trouble as a result. So this could have been entirely prevented by any of the parties, but no one took the action they needed to, and we had that result. There are a lot of good videos on NetSmarts, which is one of the resources that McLean identifies on its webpage, and there are a lot of good resources that McLean has put together on the community education portion of the webpage that you can access easily, and you may have already done so, about Snapchat, about Twitter, about apps, about and that's NetSmarts. And NetSmarts has a lot of different videos for different age groups that you can download and use and watch and so on. So it's a good resource. NetSmarts is a project of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So they're probably better known under that name, but it's one of their projects. So we use that as a teaching moment for middle and high school students about what can happen if you give up information that you need to keep to yourself. If you don't have a secure password, you don't have security, and this is one of the things that could happen to you. And identity theft happens a great deal to young people, and I think Corporal will probably talk about that as well. So that's one point we want to make. Another is that you can't hide behind technology. That one of the reasons that young people give for cyberbullying is that they think they can get away with it, that they can be somewhat anonymous, if not anonymous, online, and that it's easier to do. They don't have to confront the person. They feel that they may not get caught, and it can be harder. It can take a while sometimes to track something down that is not posted under someone's real name or from an obvious account. But the police have been called in by MCPS, by other schools, in some cases where a school is having trouble tracing the origin of a bullying message, and they have, I think 100% of the time, been able to figure out who sent it. So we tell young people to think of the screen not as a wall, but as a mirror. In fact, it's a camera because most of these have the ability for Skype, and so it can also be hacked. So you have to be really careful what you're doing in front of the camera as well as realizing that this computer screen is going to capture all of what you enter into it, and that you are creating a digital history that will form your digital reputation, and that as a young person, your digital reputation is going to be really important, because when you apply for college after you finally graduate from school, and 8 years, 9 years, 10 years seems like a long time to children especially, because it's half their life or more, but you're going to spend most of your time working after school. And I asked them, how many years do you think you're going to work before you retire after you finish high school or college? And it ranges from 5 years, those are the NFL running backs, to 40 or 50 years, all right? So that's pretty close, probably, to how long they're going to work. Maybe it'll be longer by then, because the retirement age may be higher and they might live to be 100. So they're going to work 40 years, 45 years, 50 years. That's a lot longer than being in school. I say, imagine not being able to get the type of job you want and have to go to school and go to work every day for 40 or 50 years and do something you really don't want to do. And they can imagine that, because some of the times they think that way about school. So that gets them thinking, no, I don't want to have to do something I don't want to do for the rest of my life. Well, the thing is, though, you could have the best grades. You could have outstanding extracurriculars. You could be a great artist or musician, great athlete. But if you do something stupid online and get involved in one of these scandals, then you might wreck your chances of getting into the college you want to go to, or getting a security clearance, or getting the job you want to get, because every one of those folks are going to do an internet search on you when you apply for their organization, and you're competing against other people who don't have that problem, who probably have similar credentials in terms of all the other stuff. So you're going to hurt your chances to accomplish what you want to do and go where you need to go to do it if you are in a scandal online of some kind. So don't do something that's going to leave that kind of awful digital trail. You've got to prevent that. Everyone's going to make mistakes, but you can't afford to make a really, really, really bad mistake online. And so it's a very unforgiving kind of situation. The internet is not a forgiving place, and it doesn't forget. So that's why we need to have these conversations. Let me show you a couple more videos and make a couple more points, and then I'm going to turn it over to Corporal Arsenault, because I imagine there'll be questions that we can both tackle, and I want to make sure I respect everybody's time and that you get to ask questions that you may have. But this is another video that we would show to high school students. They're really high school students in the video, about the dangers of cyberbullying, the risks and the dangers and the impact it can have.
You don't have to worry about Matt and the fat slut anymore. Can you believe that pig going home because she can't handle being called fat? Like, she should look in the mirror.
I love this one.
FPS. Fat pig slut. Jenna, no one loves you. Especially Matt.
We literally can do this all year.
No one loves you. Especially Matt.
Did you see what someone wrote on her wall last night? Oh, wow, it's gone viral. Yeah, did you hear about that new website, hatersofjenna.com?
Attention students, this is Principal Rivard. I regret to inform you that the family of Jenna Long has told us that last night Jenna committed suicide. We would like everyone to take a moment of silence to remember Jenna. We will miss her. Anyone who needs counseling, please come to the office. And you should know The school is cooperating with the family and authorities in determining what may have led to this tragedy.
Brittany, Shayna, Tanya.
Come with us, ladies, please. Now, ladies.
Does anybody want to talk about it?
So this helps, this gets the attention of students because it clearly shows what the impact can be, not only in terms of the cyberbullying on the victim, but on the people that do it. And these videos are all based on true stories. There was a student in Howard County named Grace McComas, who was a sophomore at Glen Elk High School, who committed suicide in 2012 after she was relentlessly bullied on Twitter by a classmate. And it was not illegal at the time, or at least the penalties were very minor at the time for that, because it was not direct contact with the victim. It was indirect tweeting about her, but it wasn't sent to her. So the hands of the law were tied on that until the law was changed and the law caught up with technology. So now Maryland has a law called Grace's Law, which covers indirect bullying through cyber. And it would have covered what happened in 2012 to Grace McComas. So I think these videos get the attention of the students that we're talking to and drive home what the impact can be. Now, cyberbullying can have more severe impact in some ways than traditional face-to-face bullying. And I ask students why, and I might ask you, why do you think that might be the case? And I'll ask that rhetorically for the moment. And that's because it's hard to get away from. At least when someone is being bullied face-to-face, theoretically it might stay at school. You can go home and have a safe place. But with cyberbullying, you're surrounded by it, and you don't feel like you can get away from it. And it's open, more people may join in, and the whole world may know about it. So it is a much different experience, I have to conclude, from a face-to-face type of bullying situation, given given how it develops, given the features of it. And when young people are asked why they engage in bullying, there are a lot of reasons they give, but the most common reason they give is retaliation, revenge, they deserved it. So it is important to talk to your child about how to resolve conflict, because everybody is going to have someone insult them at some point or say something they don't like, and we all have felt disrespected at some point by somebody, right? And it's going to happen again, and it certainly will happen to young people again at some point, and maybe soon. So it's really important to talk to them how to resolve conflict. That, if your first instinct is to punch someone in the face or to do the same kind of thing figuratively online, then you're going to hurt yourself. You're not going to be successful if that is how you respond to someone disrespecting you. On the other hand, if you are being bullied, you don't have to take it. You should not have to put up with it. It's not something that is acceptable. And you need to first put the person on notice to stop so that they know, because otherwise they can defend themselves by saying, well, you didn't say anything, and I had no idea it really bothered you. I thought I was just being funny. So, but after that, if it doesn't stop, then it's important not to continue to engage with the bully, but to do something about it by bringing someone else in who can help if the situation is one that the person doesn't feel they can handle by themselves. And usually they're not going to feel comfortable by themselves because there's an imbalance of power in that kind of relationship. So we ask students, who's your trusted adult? Do you have one? Most of the time they do, and usually it's a parent, but not always. Sometimes it might be a counselor. So I talk up counselors a lot at schools, because every school, and I know McLean has several counselors, including Andrew Ship, right? So we really push students toward counselors when they have a question or a bullying situation and don't know what to do. And one of the great things about being young is you don't have to know the answers to everything, and you're not expected to. So use the free resources. They cost a lot more when you're an adult. So use them now while they're at your disposal and free and in the same building that you're in. And let the school know what's going on. If the parent needs to let the school know, if the child isn't, that something's going on at the school, so the school can do something about it. The school may not know about it. So it's important to let the school know if there is a situation like that. So those are the primary points I wanted to make. I'll add one other thing, and that is we talk a lot about the importance of teaching children to be upstanders, not bystanders. Okay, so you are culpable if you pass something along that someone sent you. If you pass a rumor along, or you pass a nude photograph along, you're culpable for the same kind of violation of the law that the person who sent it to you is. So if something like that comes your way, don't send it along to anybody else. Talk to your trusted adult about it. You can keep it until you do that, but don't send it to anybody else, because then you are now part of the problem. So it's important for students to know what to do if they get something from someone else that they didn't ask for that is illegal or highly inappropriate, and that is bullying, constitutes bullying behavior. So if it is abusive, it's not something that they should look past. And I tell students that I want you not only to look out for your friends, but it really impresses me when you look out for someone who you don't know, who you see being bullied. That really tells me more about your moral fiber than anything else. So there are some students that I think are truly trying to look out for others, and we want to create that empathy, that sense of empathy in them as early as we can. So with that, I'm going to stop. I can come back a little bit later and I can show you a couple more videos if you like, but I want to turn it over now to Corporal Arsenault to have him have plenty of time to make his presentation too.
Thank you.